But I think it's going to wait till 7:30, right? It says we're live. Hey,
Well,
Sid. That one doesn't count, though. Unless we want to go. Okay, but I don't even have the thing. And if I do this...
should we end it and start it, or just go for it?
Yeah.
Oh, it'll only be 3 extra minutes.
Okay, this is what we said too last time. The lighting is so much better on TikTok than it is on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It when I went and watched like the replay, it wasn't as horrible quality, but
okay,
as I thought it was gonna be. But it wasn't like, oh look, I just got a notification for us.
Did you really?
How official!
Dang.
Oh, should I click on it?
Yeah.
Let's see what we look like.
Okay.
Okay, see, it's not as like bad in real person, but
no, you need to clean your screen though.
Yeah, my screen is disgusting.
It is. I do think it's one of those funny things though, where one of the 15 people that watched the last one was somebody that reached out to me.
On this, you mean one of the 4 people that watched
right?
It?
But then it was funny because they said that they were like felt almost bad for us, and then but then she went over and saw that we had like 15,000 people on TikTok. So it's really funny, right?
If this is pity watchers, that's fine. Yeah. Pity watchers are still watchers.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. So, all right. So tonight we'll read that Reddit story. And I was trying to think of what else has been the theme of therapy this week.
Should we just start the TikTok?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait. Now, how do we do that? I got to get the questions going over here, which will be in front of. Oh, the anonymous Kraken. That must be your mom. Okay, that's funny. I know that sounds like
did you just call my mom a Kraken?
No, I mean I did, but it's like was said with love. Bro. Okay, why do you notice that? Do you use Google Docs very often?
No.
Okay, so when somebody else jumps up on here, check it out. Anonymous Rabbit and Anonymous Kraken.
Oh, they give you like icons now?
Yeah. Well, they kind of always have, but then they just pick these random names or that sort of thing. So, oh wait.
Sorry, I'm doing my hair.
That is okay.
What do you want me to do your hair?
See, that's the kind of joke I would expect. But then I feel like if I did that joke, you would be like, oh, man, that's a lame joke. You
couldn't do that joke because I have long, luscious locks.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though. I feel like I would say something like, oh, let me do my hair. And then you would, you know what I mean? And you'd be all upset. Not upset. You wouldn't be upset about it.
I think you're upset that I just had a good joke.
Okay. This one. Okay. First of all, hi, Sid.
Hi, Dad.
Okay. You want to be in the...
Hi, Dad.
Hey. What's going on? Hey, sometimes I feel like do you know, did you ever listen to the radio in your car, honestly?
Whenever I lose my phone, I have to use the radio.
Okay. And what is that like for you?
I hate it.
Why?
Because you can't pick the song.
Okay, isn't that crazy? And I don't want to pull the old, when I was a kid, the radio, we just had people singing out the window or whatever. I was just curious though, because I find myself still as a very old man who grew up with the radio, that when we get on, I still want to do this DJ voice. Hey everybody, what's going on? Working hard or hardly working? How you doing?
Don't do that.
No,
just kidding. You could do that. You could pull it off.
Oh, you're kind. So it feels like it's been a week, and I think it kind of has since we last did a live. We're on YouTube tonight, and we are here on TikTok. And I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and
I'm Sydney.
Sydney, my daughter.
You look a little unimpressed over there.
I'm incredibly impressed. I'm incredibly impressed, and it is wonderful to be here. And we've got a Reddit story that I think is going to be a little. I think we'll have differing opinions, which is good. So we got a Reddit story with different opinions. And then I was trying to think of what the theme of therapy has been this week. And man, okay, healthy ego versus pathological defensive narcissism.
Okay.
Do you, because
I tried to follow that.
Okay. Because you've heard me talk about healthy ego before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah. Because I feel like for me, a lot of times I try to delete my ego in a way, you know what I mean? Not have an ego.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it kind of creates some of my anxiety.
How so?
Because when I care so much about like what other people think, then I don't know, it just makes me anxious. It's like, because I think it's because I can't do what I want to do. Now I'm just doing what they want me to do. Absolutely. And so I'm like uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So, and I like that you're saying that, because it's natural for people to then worry about what other people are thinking or feeling. And because it goes back to that thing, we don't want to get things wrong, and we want people to like us, because if they don't, we feel like we'll be abandoned, and then we'll be booted out of the tribe and we'll die. So not to get all dramatic about it. So the reason I talk often about healthy ego is let me start with the opposite. So unhealthy ego. I think a lot of us operate from this unhealthy ego. And what it is it's basically this false sense of self.
Scientist Tony's coming out.
Yeah, Kelly. Hey, Kelly's here. Kelly's often here. I appreciate that. Kelly, what's going on? She says hi, Tony and Sydney.
Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. Okay, so unhealthy ego, or what we might call the false self, is it's basically like fake confidence, and it's when somebody appears really, really confident, and they act like maybe they're better than others, maybe they know more than other people do, but underneath that, it's really they're dealing with a lot of self-doubt, the insecurity. And it's not built on real achievements or success. And it's somebody that feels like they basically have to have an opinion about everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of do the beginning of that sometimes.
Allie's here. The Good Birth is here to join live as a guest. Now, would the Good Birth come on right now?
Hi, Allie.
Would she come on? I'm very curious because I would love to talk about what she does. So let's see if she is willing to do that.
I feel like a lot of times I do fake confidence though, because like when I am feeling like not confident, you know, fake it till you make it, right. You know, like I just have to pretend.
Okay. Allie, we'll schedule you next time.
Yeah, we'll get her. But that's not unhealthy, right?
Well, tell me more, because I like where we're going with this, because the fake it till you make it. What do you think about that?
I live by that.
Okay. So
like you do it until you are. Like you just pretend and then like I feel like you are.
Yeah.
But not in every situation.
And I think that's the key. Yeah.
And I feel like it does kind of work with confidence.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you go somewhere and you're feeling anxious and like all like in your little shell, you know, like I feel like there is kind of okay, let me just pretend like I'm okay, and then you start to feel it.
Yes.
But where you're going with that is like what, like that's is you're saying it's a way to.
So I love what you're saying. So you can project confidence in just like the way you're being, you know, the way you're doing. And I think that's a really good thing, because over time you're training your brain that when I show up in a situation, I am going to be present, and I am going to, you know, I'm going to project confidence even if I don't feel it. But I think where then unhealthy ego comes in is now all of a sudden, though, if I'm now going to try to have an opinion about something that I kind of don't know about, but I think I probably need to show that I'm confident.
Oh.
So like, you know, Allie, who we'll get the rain check on, is she's a midwife, right? And so then if I was saying, I mean, I kind of think I know what is going on. I think I know a little bit about what a midwife does, and then I start commenting on it like I do. So that would almost be this unhealthy ego or a fake confidence. And so then if it will,
so it's uncomfortable, it's being uncomfortable not knowing something.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And we go back to like, what do we do with our discomfort? So I can either sit with my discomfort and just say, I don't know, or be curious about somebody else's experience, or I can try to chime in and pretend I know things that I kind of really don't know. And so if everybody else knows, then I don't even realize that I'm coming off looking like a fool. And then they're kind of like, okay, this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about.
It's like a fear of not being accepted for not knowing something.
Yes.
But that's where people get it so twisted, is like people love to teach too. It's like people love to like tell you things that you don't know. People love to talk about that kind of stuff, you know? So I feel like that's where people kind of have it twisted. It's like that's how you form connections. If everyone knew everything, then no one would talk.
Yes.
Like, what would we talk about?
That's right. Yeah. Okay, this is good. And somebody in the question said, what were you just describing? So we're talking about a healthy ego versus an unhealthy ego. And I just think this is a real significant thing to understand, because I like what Sydney's saying. It's okay to not know, because when I admit the things that I don't know, then I can be curious.
As someone who knows very little.
I'm trying to think of what's something I don't know. Okay, you look at this.
You're trying to think of something you don't know.
Let me try to think of something I don't know. So,
rocket science.
Okay, you gave me this crystal, and I really like it, and I sit it right there on my desk. So if I were to say, yeah, I mean, you know, I know a lot about these crystals and the way that the shapes form. It kind of has a lot to do with. I can't even make it up. But do you know a lot about crystals?
No.
Oh. Okay. So we can both make it up. What do you know about this one?
It's an amethyst.
Okay, so I don't even know what that is. But if I were to say, an amethyst, yeah. So, and it's purple, and so I can imagine purple, and I do know this, back in biblical days represented royalty, and you know, there was some character in the Bible, Lydia, and she dyed purple, and so she was of royalty, and so an amethyst must mean royalty.
A crazy homeless man told me that one time about my hair.
Are you serious?
And I felt so happy about that.
But so does this have anything to do with royalty?
No, I mean, it's just purple.
Right. So but that's where if I had an unhealthy ego, then all of a sudden I'm making those assumptions. So I'm going big with it because in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe it's true. Mm-hmm. So then if I convince you, then you'll think I'm really cool. Mm-hmm. But if you actually are an amethyst expert, then you're saying this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
And when like a narcissist is doing that, is there any part of them that's trying to form an emotional connection? Because that's like all they know how to do.
Okay, look at you.
Or are they just trying to like be like, I know more than you, I win. Like, that's it. Let's go.
See all of the above. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like so one of it is the way that they feel like you show or express love is to tell somebody what to do, what they don't know, or it's to take that one up position. And that's the way that they know that they exist in essence. Okay, omnivore 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, 100% being smart is being aware of how much you don't know. Absolutely.
Dude, yeah, we were just talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah.
When we went to Arizona.
Yeah. Do you remember the context?
I don't remember at all, but we were saying like the smartest thing to say is you don't know.
Yep.
And I feel like that is really true.
It is. Because now that gets us to healthy ego. Now, so kind of finishing up this definition of unhealthy ego. So when a person with an unhealthy ego, when they even get a little bit of criticism, then it's like, you've popped their balloon, and that's because their sense of self is so fragile that then even a little threat, it seems like a challenge. So then if you're saying that you have a different opinion, the unhealthy ego or emotionally immature person is like, oh, because it's this all or nothing, black or white. Oh, so you think you're right and I'm wrong? You think you're better than me? Mm-hmm. And so now they have to defend their fragile ego. So if they're already operating from this place of, this does mean royalty and you don't even get it, now I'm going to gaslight you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're defending themselves from bullets that don't even exist, like imaginary.
You're spitting truth tonight.
Gandhi's coming out tonight, boys.
Okay. And yeah, so then the person with unhealthy ego is kind of constantly on guard, trying to maintain this illusion of no, I know what I'm talking about, because the admitting vulnerability is way too scary. And that's the sad part, because sometimes I just want somebody in my office to just admit I don't know. And so, and I often think about it, it's like unhealthy ego is like this armor that you're wearing on the outside, but it's just for show. So it's like I look like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't. So do
you think that one of the reasons they're so like they think that nobody else knows anything either, is that a projection? Do they think that everyone is just pretending? Like they're like, oh, like you Crystal Girl, you have no idea what you're talking about because I don't know.
Exactly.
And if I don't know, then you couldn't possibly know either,
that means
I know everything.
Yes, and you think you're better than me, and it must mean that we all kind of don't know, but we say things anyway. That's projection instead of the healthy ego. Now, so if we step into that, and I like this, Blatt. How do you fix having an unhealthy ego? I definitely have one. Such a good question. We'll get to that. Joshua, listening to understand versus listening to respond.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, because that
better at that.
Listening to understand is curiosity. Tell me more. To respond is like, okay, now I have to weigh in, and it's practice because you have to sit with a little bit of discomfort and then check that you're probably trying to say something next, and yet that it's active listening is what it is. And then I gotta say, Dylan Petro, I love you guys. We love Dylan.
We love Dylan.
Right? We do. Okay, so now let me, and then we'll get back to Blatt. How do you fix having an unhealthy ego? Don't let me forget that one. So let me talk about what a healthy ego looks like, because I think that'll play into this.
Oh, and we'll also have questions, right? If you press the close.
Oh.
Do you see that?
Oh, over on the YouTubes.
We can start seeing the YouTube ones.
Okay, good.
Also.
I know. So we saw them. Questions appropriate, but this is somebody nice. Is my magnetic marriage course out yet? Okay, I love the YouTube people already. I've got an update to my magnetic marriage course, Elizabeth, and it is close. It was very close. So healthy ego, it's a balanced and realistic sense. It's self-esteem, but here's the key. It's based off of your actual accomplishments. And so it basically helps you come up with a stable self-image that is because of the work that you've done. So when I was in the computer industry before I became a therapist, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I pretended that I did because I had this unhealthy ego or a false sense of self. And now that I'm a therapist, I love this stuff. And so I am going to read it. I'm practicing it. I've been doing it almost 20 years. I'm seeing clients every day. And so I will be the first to admit I don't know what I don't know when somebody asks a question. But if I'm going to talk about this, it's because I feel confident about the things I know, with a little asterisk that says, but of course there's going to be things that I'm not aware of still. So that healthy ego, it's based on genuine accomplishments, and then it helps you be more resilient, even if somebody does criticize you, because I feel pretty confident about the things I feel confident about, but I want to know more. I mean, I would love to, I want to become better. So healthy ego, then I'm open to criticism. I'm open to feedback, because at the, like 8 minutes, 12 minutes before I said it at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it's a me thing. So I know what I'm confident about, so I don't have to defend my ego, and I don't have to break down, oh yeah, well, that person doesn't know what they're talking about. But so then healthy ego, it helps you prioritize like your own well-being. It makes decisions that are in alignment with your values. And then it helps you just cultivate self-respect and confidence. And so I feel like it's something that's inside of us, not like that armor on the outside.
I zoned out. I was looking at their dating thing. I was like, stop it.
Okay. It's funny. I can tell when you start zoning out, and I think I still am like, I'm gonna tap dance over here until see if you come back on the. Hey, here we go. Right. It's okay. Okay. And Mountain Drew. What if you have nothing to be confident about? Let's talk about that. And then Corbin, love listening to you guys. Thank you, Corbin. Okay,
I think everyone has stuff to be confident about. You probably just like haven't tapped into like what makes you feel confident yet.
And when I think it'll go back to Blatz talking about how do you develop a healthy ego. So what are things that you feel confident about, honestly?
Oh, well, put me on the spot here.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Okay.
You guys, I missed my.
Let's talk about this.
I missed my DMV appointment.
Oh.
And my dentist appointment today.
So, okay. That DMV appointment, you mean the one that we rescheduled from the last time you missed it?
Yes, and I do also mean the dentist's appointment that we rescheduled from last time.
Third time's a charm. Right?
So
3 is the magic number.
My life is in shambles. I don't even know what day it is, so I don't know what I'm talented at. But
okay.
I did I didn't reschedule either of them. I was totally just gonna lie.
Okay, thank you for.
But I am gonna go to them next time.
There you go. You're good at self-awareness. That's what's no. You've got a lot of talents though. When we were down in Arizona, you've got a great sense of humor. You are amazing with little kids now. We know.
No. Yeah, you guys, okay. My
good.
Intrusive thoughts have been getting better because I didn't get one thought to throw any of the babies until like we were cleaning up the baby shower.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this is really saying
and
something.
You came over and said it to me. I loved it. And I was like, oh, I've already had those thoughts. So I beat you to it. So, all right. So the way that the one that gets, the way that you develop a healthy ego it's honestly to start to separate what you think you're supposed to do versus what you really would like to start doing. And we've talked about that. When you're doing things that you think you're supposed to do, or you're going to let somebody down, like a parent or a community or a church or whatever, then it's you're acting on socially compliant goals. I guess I'm supposed to care about this, or this is what I'm supposed to do. And your motivation for those is weak and ineffective because it goes against like who you are as a person. So I think one of the first things that we have to do is recognize that most of us are operating from this place of doing a lot of things we think we're supposed to. Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, I was doing that that's why I went to college. That's why I went to church for a super long time. Like all my life, I feel like you do like what you're told is right. And you think you're supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you don't feel good anymore.
So then you think you're bad.
Exactly. It's like, why am I so why do I feel so guilty? Like, why am I not happy when I'm going to college? I'm like earlier in my life, like going to church and stuff. And then it's like, you realize, because these are things that make other people happy. They're not things that make me to my personal core happy.
Yeah.
And that's like a very scary, scary moment. I feel like changing from
socially compliant goals to
your own.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is all of a sudden you're stepping out into this. There's a lot of uncertainty because you've probably been told your whole life, if you do this, you will be happy. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And especially when you see like all the people around you doing it, or your family, or like, especially like knowing that you are going to see like your family all your life, and like talk to people and they're going to ask you these questions like, oh, how's college going? Or like, how's this? And you're going to have to face those situations inevitably, but facing them and being happy about yourself, is so much better than just giving these people these answers that they want to hear and then going home and hating your life.
For sure. Yeah. Because then you beat yourself up. What's wrong with me? We go to shame. It's like, not that I'm doing bad, but it's like I am bad. And then that's when people start to turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms to get rid of those feelings of shame, right? Those are good times. Let's see. Okay, the people in my life would literally scream at me if I forgot things like this. Christy Joe.
I know. Honestly, I should be screamed at. This one was bad.
Do better.
I woke, I don't know what it is. I need one of those like alarms clocks that like hits you in the head to wake you up. Is that a thing? I don't know, but someone should make it. Or like one of the like vibrating ones or something. Because
yeah, I know those things.
I wake up, like I'll go to bed and I'll be like, this is everything I'm going to do in the morning. And then I wake up at noon and I literally had alarms at like, I had an alarm at 8 and I had an alarm at 9 and I had an alarm at 8:45.
So, okay. I do think, and again, I appreciate Christy Joe healing, seeing your reaction to forgetting those things and being chill. It really, it's like the first time you're going through life is you. And so check that out. You slept through like 900 alarms. So that's a thing, right? So I think the best thing one can do is then to not beat themselves up. And then I always say, then, review the game film. What am I pretending not to know? If I continually sleep through alarms, then maybe I need a little bit of help. I need something else.
What do I need?
Well, so, okay, I really do. I'll tell you, I want to pretend that you are the client. Okay.
I'm always the client in this situation.
So in this scenario, then I will often say to somebody, okay, what would it look like if you had somebody that's going to stop by and wake you up or call you or whatever? Give me your yeah, but honestly.
Someone to call me?
Yeah. Or what if I were to say, okay, hey, what if you asked mom to open your door and wake you up?
Oh, then she'll close the door and I'll fall back asleep.
Oh, yeah, that was not a bad one. Then what if it was like, okay, then come back? I mean, okay, you're doing good. You're doing good. So I often find people say that, well, yeah, but that I don't want to put somebody else out, or I don't want somebody else to have to do that, or I should just be able to do it better, or I should, and then they'll say, like, to get rid of their discomfort, often they'll say, you know what, no, I just need to set another alarm. I just need to put the clock further away, because sometimes I think we really do need to, I always say, process emotion with another human. So if I need somebody else to then help me get up, that I kind of feel like the reality is most likely I probably won't need that person for long, because, now somebody else is involved, somebody else cares. But I think so often we then feel this shame that we need to involve somebody else. So do you know where I'm going with that?
I guess.
Yeah. So if you keep not getting up, you could keep trying different alarms, you could keep trying whatever, but if it didn't work, then I think that's where sometimes people then just give up and they just say, man, what's wrong with me? And I want it to always be okay, what's next? What else can I do? Because at some point you're going to figure it out. And I always feel like if we just keep trying, eventually your brain's like, fine, go ahead and all right, you can get up now. Yeah. What are you thinking?
I don't know. I need to go to bed earlier, probably. I go to bed so late.
So, and that would be a start. So it would be like, okay, I'm going to try to go to bed earlier. And then if I am not going to bed early, then I can see why am I not going to bed early, or
yeah. Okay. Next. This is boring.
Okay. So see, now it's like, okay, now you'll next time you'll just wake up on time, right?
Hopefully. I'll keep you guys updated.
Okay. Who is Waldo? Welcome back too. Set later appointments. That's how I handle it. We might have set a little bit later of an appointment this time, right? Yeah, they do close at some point. Okay. Oh, somebody, Orlando, good example of fatherhood. Thank you. Admire this. Okay. I like what Bryson says here. So unhealthy ego is people pleasing, and healthy ego doing things for your own joy. I do like that.
Oh, and that's a good way of putting it. People pleasing. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. People pleasing because I want to make everybody else happy. And the people pleasing, it's really fascinating because I had somebody earlier today in my office that was saying, but what if that is my core value, is doing things for others? And that one's a hard one because I want to say, okay, how's that working for you? But because then it's like they really are putting their happiness almost in the hands of others because they are.
Well, but then I think in that case, the core value is like probably making the gift or giving the gift or putting it together. It doesn't always have to be what you're getting from it,
and
right?
Yes, because that's where we end up getting to, as I just said. So what happens if the person doesn't say thank you, or if somebody doesn't?
It doesn't matter, right?
Well, this person, that was why this was good, because they were like, well, I mean, that kind of bothers me,
So then maybe it's something else.
Yeah, then we're kind of looking at maybe is it a little bit of I want validation? Yeah, and then because then we can work from there. Okay, so let's see another. Okay, Mountain Drew. So socially compliant goals are kind of essential for both career growth and confidence building, right? Socially compliant goals are kind of essential for career growth and confidence building. So that's a good question. And Mountain Drew, I'm kind of curious then, because, and I think I know where you might be going with this, and I like it. Where do you feel? Sometimes do you feel like you have to adhere to socially compliant goals, or what I'm supposed to do sometimes to maybe move up in a job or a position, or because you can't just go in there and say, look, I'm doing things the way I want to do them. I don't know if that's what they're saying.
I think, well, but
because sometimes you do have to start there.
If it's your career and that's what you want to do, then it wouldn't be a socially compliant goal anymore. No, it would be a value.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's stuff that you don't want to do that you have to do to get certain careers.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just doing work at that point.
Well, and that's why I was wondering if what they were saying, because I do feel like in perfect world, reference number 2, in perfect world, I mean, that's why I would love to help you do the things you want to do right out of the gate. Like that would be kind of cool. But then I know that sometimes we have to go through experiences. Sometimes we do have to have the jobs that we maybe aren't as big of a fan of. But even then, I often talk about if you can work your values into that job, and this is going to sound like and then this person went on to, own a restaurant. But one of my clients early on, they didn't want to work in fast food. And then they came back one summer and their parents had gone through a divorce and they need to raise money to get back to college. So then they worked in fast food, and they have a value of curiosity. So then they made it their mission to, over that summer, learn how every single thing in the restaurant worked. And I want to say, and then they were given a raise and became manager. No, but they made it through that summer and they learned a lot about the fast food industry, and they made money and they went back to school. Mm-hmm. So they worked their value of curiosity into this job that they really didn't want to do. The job was a socially compliant goal, but they were able to work their value into it.
And respect to anyone who works in the fast food industry.
Yeah. You spent some time.
I did Starbucks and it was horrible. And it was my fault that it was horrible. Okay. I was a horrible employee. But it was just like having food be involved makes everything so much more annoying.
I still love your stories about like how many things did you have to learn how to make?
I didn't.
Right? Because wouldn't people say, because let's say that you're never really going to end up working there again, maybe, right? So then
they won't.
People would ask for all the different things, and would you just kind of make something random?
Oh yeah, you're just getting my special. whatever feels right,
When they're driving away, then they're kind of like, wait, this isn't what I ordered.
At least they're driving away. I literally gave someone an entirely uncooked meat sandwich before. I literally could have killed someone.
Maybe we don't want to tell those stories.
Anyway.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of funny. Okay, we've got therapist man Nick. Who are we rocking more with, Freud or Bandura? So Freud, the father of therapy, started the whole thing off, but I think a lot of the Freudian theories are maybe a little bit dated. And then Bandura, I think he just had passed away a couple years ago or whatever, but he has this social learning theory, and it was that, tell me what you think about this, that learning it comes through observation and then imitation and then modeling. Because I've got some theories on this myself. What do you think about that? Like observation, imitation, and then modeling. Like
that's how you learn something?
Yeah.
I need that, but like 6 times of each of them. Okay. And then maybe it'll stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that seems like it makes sense.
So, and the only reason I say this is, and I really like the question, so I'm a big acceptance and commitment therapy guy that says I would love it if somebody can just accept the fact that this is how I think and feel, and this is what I like to do, and start from there. Because I understand the Bandura. I think his social learning theory is about, it's a lot about modeling. And so sometimes people can even equate that to almost masking. So I got to pretend to be a certain way. It kind of goes back to what we were saying in the beginning. Do I fake it till I make it? Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that I have some theories on this is I saw, Hannah said I had to watch Love is Blind real quick. Now I'm here.
There's a new episode. Stop.
Well, and
I have to go.
Well, my first thought there was not even that it was Love is Blind. I was thinking about Love on the Spectrum, because I was going to say the reason I'm bringing this up is I've got a couple of clients that are, they're adults, they're high functioning autistic, and so they grew up having to mask or trying to learn how to behave or act, mm-hmm. and I think there's a nice movement now or how about they just kind of be themselves.
Yeah.
Which
I love that.
Yeah. So.
Isn't there an element of masking with like ADHD too?
Oh, for sure.
Like if I was masking, I probably wouldn't be playing with pliers right now, because like that's probably not socially normal.
Yeah. I was gonna say, why do I have pliers? Those are your pliers?
They're my pliers. So that's with like a lot of different things, right? And I like that idea too, because what even is the mask that we're putting on? That sounds like I'm pulling some weird dream thing, but what is that? It's like it's just the mask that everyone else decided was the most normal one. Like if I feel like in a perfect world, we all just act literally however we want, as long as we're like nice and chill.
Yeah.
And then everything's fine.
I mean, that's I would love to start from there, but I think it's part of even maybe what Nick's talking about too. Well, I guess, Nick, are you a Freud or a Bandura person?
What is that? Who's Freud? Who?
Freud, Sigmund Freud, kind of father of therapy, psychotherapy, introduced the concepts of, but Freud had a whole lot of theories. Was he like
the first therapist?
Yeah. And he had first psychologist, and he had a lot of theories that he was one of those where kind of everything ties back to your mom.
Your mom.
It's literally.
What did you mean by that?
Like
your childhood.
Yeah. Okay. Even like literally directly toward your mom. He had this theory called like repetition compulsion, where you're gonna find yourself in a relationship with somebody that basically is. So you would, this would be difficult because it's like your opposite sex or your parent. So you're gonna find yourself in a relationship with somebody so that you can heal the wound that I have left you with. But since I've been super awesome, then you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody super awesome.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet. I have seen that with some of my friends though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you do it like subconsciously at first, right?
Yeah, it's a trip.
And then you're like, wow, why do all these men suck? And then it's like, oh.
And that's where it is wild when people are saying like, oh, you marry your dad or you marry your mom. And it's so wild to think that, but then it's almost like, no, if I can get this person to love me because I couldn't get my real parent to love me, then I'll be okay.
You're trying to like heal that childhood wound.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. Okay. Seth, I am worried I'm a narcissist. Am I? No. If you are asking yourself, this is my go-to. If you're asking yourself if you're a narcissist, you're not. Could be pretty emotionally immature, aren't we all? Mm-hmm. But a grandiose narcissist just knows they're awesome. I mean, that's the big difference. And
they're not worried about being it at all.
No, they would.
Would they find out that they were one and then just be like, sick, another Saturday night?
They would just be like, I don't even know what. I mean, because it's so funny because I feel like when people have accused a narcissist of being a narcissist, either they're like offended, which that's maybe emotionally immature because that makes them uncomfortable. But if they're a real narcissist, they're like, okay, whatever, I don't care. I mean, I'm just over here being awesome. And narcissistic personality disorder is a really small percentage of the population. But emotional immaturity, that's a big one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but here's what he says though is, can you display signs of being a narcissist, like liking public speaking and not be one? Yeah. Cause now we're talking about.
Wait, run that back.
Yeah.
How is that a sign of narcissism?
Well, no, he said, can it be? And I was saying can you display signs? Oh, I see. I did say that wrong, huh? Can you display signs of being a narcissist, specifically like public speaking, and not be one? So yeah, liking public speaking isn't a sign of being a narcissist. It's a sign of wanting validation. It's a sign of wanting to be seen and understood. So if you maybe weren't acknowledged as much or seen in your childhood, then you're going to try to find a way to be noticed and recognized because we want that validation. Because a kid gets their whole sense of self from external validation, So either they get a negative interaction, but they at least know I exist because.
So do you think that's why a bunch of people become like influencers and stuff?
Yeah.
Because they just want like all the comments like oh, you guys are all my friends, like that feeling.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna own it myself. I mean,
I'm in that boat.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was speaking all the time in my 20s, 30s. Start the podcast. I just want all this downloads and validation. And then I remember when I first started and I'd be like, hey, thanks for all the emails. Nobody had emailed me. Now it's like I get several emails a day. If I wish I could get time to read them all. And then it's like you skip through the part, oh, thanks for all the information. Because it's like, oh, it turns out I didn't really want that validation. Mm-hmm. I wanted my kids to love me. I wanted my wife to love me.
Yeah. And I feel like that's dangerous too, because if you run off all that validation, what happens when it's not good validation anymore?
For sure. And then that's that cognitive distortion of where I could get 500 people say, I love your content. You've helped me so much. And then one person says, yeah, I think it's dumb. I'm like, oh man, like, is it dumb?
And I feel like everyone can relate to that. It's like once you start, like criticism is good to listen to, but don't feel it and like don't like take it in, because once you start taking it from anyone but yourself, like that's when you're in trouble.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's such a good point too. Let's see. Wait, did you see that one?
talk about my
Do you know about that?
Hannah wants us to talk some crap. I don't know what she's talking about specifically, but we can get into that soon.
Okay. One of these days we need to invite her on, right, Hannah? Yeah. CK, tips for struggling with executive dysfunction. This is a good one. We world's worst salespeople. Become subscribe to us.
Yeah.
On TikTok. It's like $3 or $4 a month, and we will answer your questions individually. And we'll do some private Q&A things. Why was I saying that? Oh, because I was about to say I've got a podcast called Love ADHD. I've got one called The Virtual Couch and Waking Up to Narcissism. We've got one called Murder on the Couch.
Yes, and this one will be re-uploaded right away.
Yeah, this will be replayed. So the
Riploy.
Riploy. Don't you know what Riploy is?
Oh yeah, sick. I heard that.
Yeah, it makes me think of the one that you got me on the other night.
Ligma.
Okay. Have you isolated that clip yet? That'd be a funny one.
No, I should. I don't know what one it's from. I need to remember.
Okay. Okay. So then tips. Okay. So executive dysfunction. People that have attention deficit hyperactive disorder, ADHD, whether the hyperactive type or the inattentive type, where your mind's just racing.
Did you just point at me?
Oh no, I was doing this.
Oh
yeah.
Or the one that can't pay attention to crap.
Or the one that's like all over the place. And it's already forgotten what the question was. We have a problem with our executive functioning. And this is important because this is the part where ADHD is a thing that you can't just try harder because, your thinking and doing teeter-totter. I've talked about that before. Apparently, most people, neurotypical, I'll use my packet of Liquid IV as the teeter-totter today. Thinking, doing. So apparently what most people do is when they're thinking, they aren't having to do. And when they're doing, they don't have to think about other things. Mm-hmm. So with ADHD, it's like this teeter-totter eventually just goes, oof. So
the teeter-totter is broken.
Right. So when I'm thinking, I also but I want to do. And when I'm thinking. So I might be doing something, but if I really don't want to do it, all of a sudden I get distracted. Matt's back. Let's go.
Matt.
So, but if I'm thinking and then all of a sudden I want to do something else, then I just go do it. Or if I'm doing something and I think about something else, then I change direction. So that's our executive functioning challenge. And so in the world of ADHD, there's sometimes there's just an acceptance that I'm going to start doing something and then I'm going to get distracted and then I'm going to go do this other thing. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Do you ever do that?
All the time right now. My brain's like, where can I get distracted?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, and that's man, in the world of ADHD, there's I love the concept. It's called the right kind of difficult because, and we talked, there's a couple of the authors I like, Hollowell and Rattay, that wrote ADHD 2.0 are trying to almost redefine ADHD as VAST, which is variable attention stimulus trait, because the variable attention means that sometimes I can hyperfocus and sometimes I completely lose focus. Mm-hmm. So instead of an attention deficit, it's more of a variable attention. So sometimes I can just be locked into something except for when I'm not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I don't really get that one, honestly.
It's kind of funny. Do people really say we're going to invite him in?
We could just invite him and see what happens.
I don't think so.
That'd be fun.
Remember we've done that on accident before. Okay. Let's see. Matt. Oh, Matt just purchased an auto renewal subscription. Matt, we are going to answer all your questions. You're going to get so tired of us. We're going to be like, hey, it's us again. Right.
Matt.
Therapist, man, you should be a psych teacher. Nick, I would dig that. I really would. Teaching's a fun thing. Sleepy Flower's been here before. Yeah. So thanks for coming back. Can OCD cause struggles with socializing? Absolutely. And I'm curious if you do have OCD. I would love to know when you're asking those questions. I'm curious. Do you have some struggles with socializing? Because I would love to. Feel free to ask even more specific questions with that.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. So, someone who has OCD, are there certain times during the day when their thoughts will kick in more times than others, or is it? Well,
it can be a lot of things. So, OCD attacks what is important to someone. So if
that's so messed up.
It's wild, right? Yeah. That's why, if it's super important that somebody, their health, then that's where you'll see people that will often then wash their hands a lot or not want to touch doorknobs or that.
Is that where being a hypochondriac comes in, or is that a completely different thing?
It can be. Yeah. Sometimes it's funny though. Hypochondriac, which is, somebody that continually feels like they're sick. there's some belief that a hypochondriac is even more of a like an attachment issue, where it's the way that somebody gets seen and noticed and validated.
Oh,
this is one we talked about, because we've known people where.
But that's sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
you go.
I was just gonna say that's messed up if it actually manifests itself in like real symptoms.
It can. There's a thing called conversion disorder, where eventually like your body will say, okay, well, I guess we're sick, But what hypochondriac will do often is they almost feel like if they aren't complaining about being sick or their health, then nobody will pay attention to them. And I think we've talked about this before, where sometimes when people, if you go, hey, how you doing? And it's always like, oh, not good, but if they ever say, yeah, I'm doing okay. Then if you go, oh, good. They're like, but I don't know how long this will last, because they're almost afraid that if they're doing good, then you'll ignore them. There
has to be both cases though, right? Because then I know in the same breath there has to be the hypochondriac who's alone in their room, like hyperventilating, thinking they're going to die. It has nothing to do with anyone else, right?
Anything like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's just me guessing, because I've definitely had moments of that with my anxiety where I'm like, I am dying and I'm not.
Well, and that's like, then is that, sometimes I think that one could creep more into the OCD realm, where it's like, I'm feeling anxious, because remember, like OCD is there's this obsession, this causes anxiety, and then I got to do this compulsion to lower my anxiety, so that, if I'm feeling, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick and I've touched this stuff and I'm covered with germs, I'm going to go wash my hands, and that alleviates my anxiety for a minute. And then it comes back, and it's like these big tidal waves that just hit. So when you're helping somebody with OCD, sometimes you like, it's almost like you're teaching them how to brace for that wave, and then it crashes over them. And then they're almost like, okay, cool. Is it over? It's like, oh no, there's another one coming, but you have to learn to like get back to that sit with discomfort, which can be really, really difficult. But I don't think we completely answered Sleepy Flower, though. I think it can really affect or impact your socialization. And I'm thinking of people that they've worried about, if they are going to go out, worry about contamination, or worrying about, are they going to have to shake somebody's hand, or worrying about if they have a particular ritual that then it will be made fun of. So then sometimes they would just rather stay inside, because they don't want that to be a problem.
So it manifests in a lot of anxiety?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Matt, that one, I've heard of this. And Catherine Owen's book, Overcoming Health Anxiety, is pretty nice. Thank you for that, for real. Because that overcoming health anxiety, that is something. We talked earlier about healthy ego. So this is one where I'll admit that I know a fair amount about OCD. I work with people that have OCD, but I know that there's going to be more information out there that I'm not aware of. Okay. ADHD for somebody with addictive tendencies. Top Gun fan, Wendy, if you want to leave that one on there, maybe we'll get into ADHD stuff here in a little bit, because once we get going on that.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, but there's some stuff about medication that I like that we've talked about with addictive tendencies. Okay, how do I help my ASD child improve her inner talk? So autism spectrum disorder child improve her inner talk. Man,
what is inner talk?
That's a great question. So thank you, Jessica. So a lot of it's just does somebody tend to have like a negative inner monologue? Like, man, I'm so dumb, or I'm so bad, or what's wrong with me? Have you been around, like, I kind of tell sometimes you guys, if your immediate reaction, I'm talking about in our family, if our immediate reaction is like, man, I'm so dumb, that's part of that. Just, it's the story that we're telling ourselves. And then, and what do you feel about that?
Well, I found that, because I used to be like that a lot in my life. I just be like, I'm so dumb. And it's like, even if you're saying it as a joke, that's like the feeling that you give your brain, and that's like the trail that you decided to go down, kind of thing. And it's like, even if it's just self-deprecating, or you're saying it as a joke, or you don't think you really believe it, like when you're saying that, your body believes what it hears.
It does. That's so good, Sid.
And so like I have been just trying to be more aware of that. It's like my brain, I will go to, oh, I'm so stupid, and then I just try to kind of think, no, but like I'm smart, and it's so cheesy and like cliche and weird.
No, but
to be like,
this is where you have to.
I'm smart, but like you're. I feel like the power of words is like really significant, and like it helps when you say like kind things to yourself.
It does. And let's talk about that. And by the way, I think Nick is a psychology person. Is inner talk influenced by explanatory styles and locus of control? Man, Nick, we can
inner talk influenced
by
we'll
get that. That's good stuff.
Styles and focus.
Yeah, but we'll get to that too.
About that, because I want to understand.
Yeah, but what you just said is good. So I go back to this concept of relational frame theory, RFT, where if we were putting everything in these little relational frames. So if I look over there and I see, you've got the water bottle and it's next to one of my pink squishy brains. It's like, which one of those do you like better?
The water bottle.
How come?
Because it has Hello Kitty on it.
Okay, so then I like the squishy brain because it talks about my podcast. But we form like we immediately we see things and we try to like relate them together. And so that's a cool version kind of. But then a negative version is I will then have a relational frame of when I do something, I tell myself I'm an idiot, and then our brain's going to combine those two, and then that becomes that when I do something that I wish I wouldn't do, then I'm immediately going to jump in and call myself stupid. And then over time, our brain's trying to like create these habits, these habitual patterns, because it saves electrical activity of the brain. Then it's like, oh, that's what I do, and you do that long enough, and then our implicit memory, or what it feels like to be me or you, which is based off your slow residue of lived experiences, I continually tell myself I'm dumb or what's wrong with me whenever I make a mistake. So that stuff just slowly starts to, I think, we start to then identify with the stories we tell ourselves.
So what would your advice be to like helping a parent with their kid with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, thank you.
You know?
So, all right. So first, I think it needs to be modeled. I really do. I think sometimes as parents, we don't recognize if we're doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's where I go right back to acceptance and commitment therapy, which is the best therapy modality in the world, in my opinion. Starts with if you're the only you that's ever been on the earth, with your nature and your nurture and your birth order and your DNA and abandonment, rejection and hopes and fears and dreams and all that stuff, then when you think something, you think it because that's what you think, because you're the only you. So instead of then man, what's wrong with me? It's check this out. This is the first time I've been in this situation in my life, and I just did this thing, and check that out. That's what happened. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm feeling. Versus, man, what's wrong with me? Why did I do that? I'm so dumb. And that's our natural tendency. And that's why I'm not as big of a fan of cognitive behavioral therapy, because it says you have automatic negative thoughts or you're stinking thinking, and you just need to change them. I just need to think of it different, and then it will make me feel happy. But then it starts with the premise of you're broken, that something's wrong with you. And so then I think first a parent has to model I have to give myself grace. It's the first time I've ever been in this moment right now. And that's what I've done. And so instead of being angry with myself for doing something, it's like, oh man, that happened. But what do you think about that, honestly?
No, I like that. Yeah. And I feel like when you have such a negative inner monologue, it like does kind of pop out a lot more and in a lot more, like I'll find myself, I still will find myself being upset about things that are not a big deal at all. And I feel like it is just because those words are just kind of popping into my brain. Right? Like, I hate myself. I want to die. Because it is just, I'm used to thinking those things. But I feel like it is just training your brain. And if you like work on it hard enough, then you will be in a crappy situation. And for once in your life, the thought of, oh, well, whatever, like, totally. And so what will finally pop up over, you are a crappy person,
yes,
and
will.
You suck.
I love it. And so what? Our mind's always like, well, that happened. Like, that is a thing,
And it is just like it is changing how you feel, but it is also just a habit in your brain, if you feed bad things into your brain constantly, then in your moments of silence, bad things are going to come up. But if you feed it good things, then good things are going to happen.
Absolutely. And then I dig it. It's so good. And then when we talk about mindfulness meditation, now we're just recognizing that we have lots of thoughts. And so why am I giving energy or attention to the ones that say you're horrible versus the ones that are like, well, you're giving it a shot. You're trying. Because I like those a lot better.
And like, I feel like it's, yes, we have bad and good thoughts, but what if we kind of like removed the bad and good from them? Like, what if they're just thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like,
so
we think things all the time. And like, I've been kind of thinking that like our thoughts aren't even connected to us in any way. I feel like who we are is really like how we feel in our gut. And then these thoughts are just kind of things that pass through us that we like have the choice whether we want to grab onto them or not.
I like that.
But they don't like create who you are or mean that you're a good or bad person in any way.
No, they don't. That's deep. You've been thinking.
I told you it's Gandhi. Sidney Gandhi's here today.
Okay, let's see. Oh, somebody says like, how is so that happened different from it is what it is? I mean,
wait,
they can be the same. I mean, that's and that's why I love where it's like I would love to know more of what Vroom Dude's question is about, because that like I'm a big fan of like, check that out. Well, that happened. But honestly, I used to think it is what it is. It's kind of dismissive, but it is what it is. It just kind of is. So it's like whatever your thought, whatever that is for you, it just that works, because, and this gets a little bit into that, who am I to tell somebody else that one of those is better than the other? You know, because if it's like, check that out, that happened, that's a thought, you know, versus the, it is what it is. Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. And like, who are you to tell someone like how they feel? Like, I feel like it jumps into that. It's like, if you feel some way, that's because you feel that way. It's not because you're lying to yourself or you don't actually feel that way and you think you do. You know, it's like,
totally,
everyone is just living their own life experience, and like, we don't understand what anyone else is going through.
Yeah, that one gets me. And by the way, I like Yellow Dragon, our words are our reality. I mean, for good or bad, right? I mean, so that's like really, I really like that. Back to what Jessica's question was. So first of all, we model the inner talk. I know, right?
On that.
But you model that inner talk, and then I think that one of the things is a challenge is often if our kid says that, like, I want to do it. If you guys ever say, I'm so dumb, I want to say, no, you're not. But what's funny is like a couple of things happen. And one, I just dismissed your emotion. If that's what you're really thinking or feeling, then I just told you you're wrong. Right. I
saw something about that the other day. It was like, if you tell a kid, and I want to know what you think about this. Like, if a kid comes up to you and goes like, oh, I did so bad at this soccer game. Like, I did terrible. And if you as the parent goes, no, you didn't. You did great out there.
Yeah.
Apparently that's like bad for the kid, because you're telling them that their perception of the world, the way that they see it and feel it, is wrong.
It's wrong. Absolutely.
And apparently that's like a bad thing.
Yeah.
Bro, this is why I'm not having kids, because they're so, what are you supposed to tell them? Like, it's telling them they're good is good.
Well, you tell them, you're like, say, man, tell me
good.
about that. Like, tell me about that game. Like, tell me more about that.
Tell me more about how you feel.
Yeah. Like, what's that like for you? Yeah. And then, because oftentimes it's almost like they're testing the relationship for safety. Man, it's so bad. And, you know, and if you're like, man, tell me about that. Like, help me understand what that's like for you, or what were you hoping for? Why do you think you did?
Because you tried your best.
Totally.
Or like something like that.
And then it's like,
give me a baby. Okay. That was great.
Okay, right? Because then at that point, and this, I like that you brought this up, because, star on my head right there.
That is not a star.
Okay. Those on YouTube don't even get to see that. I have a star on my head.
It's
a heart.
It's
a heart. It's a heart star. See, now I'm going to guess. Like, wait, what do you think?
It wasn't a star.
A heart star. Seriously? Like, okay, well, okay. Oh, it's a heart, not a star, right? But so if a parent, just to quickly, no, you did great. There's a couple things. One, they're just getting rid of their discomfort. Oh man, I don't want my kid to feel like they did bad, so I will tell them they did good. Oh, I feel better. I'm a good parent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
like, I want to see them smiling and happy again.
Yeah.
Like, they're sad. This is bad. But that's not. That's
a me thing. That's a me thing.
They're feeling and processing their emotions as a kid. Like, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So Matt's going again. Let's go, Matt. Okay. So then that scenario, what I think is fascinating is that then, so once I say, well, tell me about that. What's that like? Or what's that been like for you? Then if you show up consistently like that as a parent, then maybe you can say, because I feel like my experience was, I noticed that you were really hustling, or I felt like you were doing whatever, but I can understand why I appreciate you sharing what you think about what your experience was. So you're not telling them they're wrong. You're saying, tell me more. And then if you're going to share, it's I validate, I hear you. And then, but I feel, stay in the I statements, not the, hey, you need to realize you're better than you think you are, or you just need to be grateful that you're able to play, or now we're like telling them their feelings are wrong.
Yeah.
And we talked about this before. I think this is interesting, because that's both a parent that, the parent's doing their best, but that's a parent that's like, no, you're great. Like, that sounds awesome. And even in that version, if you continually tell, like, your kid's just expressing themselves and you're telling them what they're expressing or feeling is wrong. I think we've said before, then over time, instead of trying to externalize their emotions, they internalize them. And now they need somebody else to tell them how to feel, what to think, and that they're okay.
Yeah. And also now they're going to try to feel whatever way you want them to feel, to avoid you being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And then it's not even about what they're feeling anymore. They're not able to ever experience their emotions to the fullest, because they're always just thinking, oh, what do I need to do so like mom stays chill?
Totally. Right. And I want to get validation and all that stuff. So, because then when you're an adult, now I watch people that are like, I don't want you to see me cry. Like, I don't want to, well, why? And that means that, I wasn't really allowed to express myself when I was young. I wasn't allowed to share my emotions, because if I do that, I was probably not validated or told that I wasn't okay. And one of the best ways to have a connection with somebody you care about is to open up, be vulnerable, and that person can be there. There's a question over here that is from Laura. how is quitting vaping going?
Quitting vaping going. It's good. You guys had a really humbling experience, though. We were in Arizona, and my card declined while I was buying Zyns.
I did notice that. How did your parents show up for you then?
Well, I was next to my mother and my father. Yeah. It was horrifying. And Tony the Plug.
Plug, is that a good thing?
The Tony the Plug, you got my Zyns for me.
I will tell you that I was purchasing our $1 zillion of snacks like we always do when we're on a family trip. And I had that, and then your card declined. So I was like, almost put that on my business card. And for some reason I was like, I don't know why I don't think that's it. So I did our personal real quick.
I'm part of the business.
You are. Literally, you are part of the business, right? Yeah, that was, So, but other than that, so that was a humbling experience.
It's been going, honestly, a lot. It's been going well. Like, it's been going good. I truly do feel like it's easier for me it's easier for me to not put a Zyn in than it is for me to not vape because I still haven't vaped.
Yeah.
But I almost didn't have a Zyn for the entire day yesterday.
Okay.
One day, big ups.
Hey, so I was curious though, because we're in Arizona for the weekend. We're there for your sister's baby shower. We're all there. Lots of people you didn't know. I was curious, like, does that cause any stress or anxiety?
Yes.
And then is that normally when you would hit that dome?
Yes. Okay. 100%.
So is that hard?
It honestly was nicer than it was hard because it was like nice not having something, because like if it was like last year and this was the baby shower and I was quitting vaping, I would be in the bathroom vaping every 5 minutes.
I was curious, like I almost asked you if that was like the case.
Yeah, no, and it would be like that, and because I did connect it to my anxiety a lot. And yeah, like if I were in a conversation meeting new people that I'd never talked to before, I would be trying to stay engaged in the conversation, but then there'd be a voice in the back of my head that's like, can't wait.
Okay.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Like everything will be fine in 5 minutes when you pee for the 5th time. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But there was none of that this time for like the first time ever. And that was really nice.
Okay. Can I ask you more questions about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Did I cut you off?
No.
So, I mean, I was curious because I want to be like, you did an amazing job on that trip, but you were engaged in a lot of stuff all day, like from morning to night. We were doing fun things. And I know that that's like your mom and we like to just do stuff.
I know that you hate doing fun things.
But then I was curious. So do you normally need more of a break or downtime? Or were you okay with like just going?
No, I don't normally need like a break.
Uh-huh.
That's like I feel like that's a vape is too easy because you could just keep it in your purse and it's always there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No, I just didn't know if you were like, I kept wondering if we would have like, we were gone the whole day and you were around like doing a whole bunch of stuff. If we would have been at a hotel at the beach or something, would you have like gone back to your room and just kind of chilled, or do you feel like you would have just stayed engaged the whole time?
I mean, I guess staying. Okay. I don't know.
Well, I mean, eventually you played board games.
I played a board game, you guys.
Yeah.
I did play a board game.
How was that?
No, yeah, I feel like it was fun. I feel like it's just about like distracting yourself. And I think that's what I like tried to focus more in on, was just like letting myself get distracted.
Okay.
As opposed to like thinking about it. And
yeah.
I think that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that big old thing right there. See that big old heart thing? That was cool. Thanks, Matt. Oh, what board game? It was, do you remember what it's called?
No.
Because it never ended.
And I hated it.
Did you?
Yes, I hated it because it never ended.
It was Sequence, if you like that one, which I like, but it just wasn't really working.
I think I was just so good at it that it didn't end.
Is that what it was?
If that makes sense.
And you played Mario Kart. You were really good at that.
Bro, you guys,
She did good.
I sweeped up in Mario Kart.
Did you? Okay. Okay, Nick said that's probably a sign from the universe your card was declining on Zyns. You are a big universe person.
I choose to ignore that sign.
Let's see. All right, room dude it is what it is, a bit disassociative, so that happened as a level of acceptance, agree, disagree. So this is, and I appreciate this, and I want you to know that, again, I go back to the tell me more. I mean, because who am I to be the ultimate judge of that? This one is disassociative, but that one has a level of acceptance, because it depends on what that is like for you as a couples therapist. One of the things, and I'm actually doing a podcast about this that'll go out tomorrow on the virtual couch, about there's in the world of emotionally focused therapy, this EFT, it's based off of this, we all have these attachment needs, attachment wounds. We also have different, like a word can mean something completely different to one person than the next. And I know I need different examples sometimes of the really good versions of this.
Love.
Well, totally, right?
Really?
Yeah. Okay, that one, love.
That's a huge one.
Well, tell me about it. Like what?
Well, because what one person's version of love can be like happy, light love, like supporting each other, and another person's can literally be abuse, like just straight up horrible abuse.
Well, and it's the example I'm giving on this podcast that's going out tomorrow is a couple where, again, the guy talked about, the wife said, you abused me, because she's learned about emotional abuse. And then the guy grew up in a home with physical abuse. So when she says you're abusing me, he reacts. And so then, then in essence, they're saying, well, who's right? Well, they both are. But then when they can both feel heard and understood, that those mean different things to different people. So I'm not trying to say anything negative of Room Dude Dirty Waffle, but it depends on, so to me, it's like, well, what meaning does one make about it is what it is versus so that happened?
I think those kind of seem like the same thing to me.
Yeah.
But again, it's your perception of anything, I guess.
Well, and there's even, I've got a client of mine that talks about being like disassociating as a way to exist, and that's been a survival mechanism over time. And
so that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's a survival tactic.
And so they've even said, well, is it bad? And I'm like, well, let's start from a place of, well, it is. It just, that's what you do. So tell me more about that. And so you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing it because that's how you're showing up right now. Is it something you want to change? Because if that's the case, then we can start to work with that. Yeah.
What would you tell someone who, like, what is dissociating? Like, I understand what it is, but does it happen to like just one specific kind of person, or is it like related to like a mental illness, or like what is
it's one of those where it can be all of the above. So like people if they had some like childhood trauma, they might have learned to disassociate, to kind of check out of a moment that felt pretty traumatic. And so then when they're older, then they might be in a similar situation, and then they will immediately disassociate, and they will kind of just be in kind of locked into this other place, other reality, other world, as a way to then just survive in that moment. And so, but then I've also had people, they will disassociate in a conversation, but then they'll come right back to it. So there's just a lot of levels of disassociation.
Can you dissociate for like years at a time?
So there's a dissociative identity disorder where that can be where you can dissociate for longer periods of time. And then that's when we're talking about something where you might need to go, well, it would be helpful to see a psychiatrist. And there's like antipsychotic medications that can help people, kind of stay present and some things like that. Okay, I don't agree with this, but curious on your opinion on cultures in other countries hitting kids. Eric, that's a good question. Because I personally, I'm just not, again, man, this was hard because who am I to then weigh in on someone else's cultural belief or the way that they are, because I don't know what that's like. But then for me personally, I don't ever see a reason to hit a kid. I just don't, because you're causing that traumatic response, or so there, even if we're like, okay, but I'm sorry, but it's like, okay, but that they did that. Now the kid's a little kid, an adult's a big human being, so now
you might want to hit it, but don't do it.
But that's an issue that's a me thing, so then I need to learn to sit with my discomfort, that sort of thing. Okay, Nicole, panic attack advice. I get bad ones. I got some thoughts. What do you think?
I have been getting these really bad for like the last week or a couple weeks, and I kind of stopped I didn't get one today, knock on wood. See what happens when we get home. But I feel like for me personally, I found, and this, you might not relate to this at all, but I found that a lot of times right before I get like my little panic attack of the day, it was because I wasn't eating enough. And like instead of, and again, you might totally not relate to this, you're going. But for me, it was like, instead of getting hungry, I would get anxiety. And I didn't realize that this was happening like a lot. It even happens like right when I wake up. It's like, I feel like instead of feeling hungry, I feel anxious.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to like eat more. And then I feel like that has been helping me personally a lot. Also, I told you guys I had this heart rate monitor app where I would check my heart rate. That just convinced me I was dying even more than before.
Yeah.
So I deleted that completely, and that's been helping me a lot. I don't know what else really. I've been going on walks without my phone, which might be dangerous. No one stalk me and kill me, but that's been nice. Like
Wait,
not having my phone.
I'm not trying to do a bit. First of all, Chloe and Anthony Braid, they live in Arizona, and we're going to see them, and they're amazing people. So
yeah. Oh, real people, like real people that you know.
Yeah, no,
oh,
and they're
cool.
super
Not
cool.
That you guys
yeah, Chloe's
You're
like
real.
has she's recorded music and stuff.
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
really good. Yeah, and her dad. Okay, her dad is one of my friends from high school.
Oh, you know crap about Tony. Let's talk.
Good crap. Very good crap. But not taking your phone. What led to that? Honestly, I'm not trying to be like kids these days need their phones, but I mean
I read this. Well, I don't even have a good answer. I read this like hippie book about auras, and they were saying that like your phone like sucks your energy out of you or something. Just real hippie dippy stuff.
I did not expect that, but I like it.
But honestly, I was like, yeah, like it totally makes sense to me. And like when I've been trying to just keep my phone away from me like most of the day, and I'm not saying it's some the magical energies, no, but like it really does make me feel like mentally more at peace when I don't have my phone around me. I love it.
Okay, that is one of those things where, you know, sometimes parents say, okay, do I take live will end in this is that thing where I have to,
they make Tony do a puzzle like he's a 2-year-old child.
I seriously stress if I don't get that right.
You did it.
Boom. All right. Is that because how long have we been going?
Oh, it's an hour and a half. We're not doing like monkey tricks. Like they want us to like raise our hands in the air. Like, we're really? Here, bro.
Okay.
How do I get over my ex? Here's where I could give you some bad advice.
You get going and I'll start queuing up the ADHD treatment for addictive tendencies. You go.
What were we just talking about?
Your phone. Auras,
oh yeah.
Woo-woo.
Oh wait, we were talking about tips for panic attacks.
Yeah, panic attack. Okay, I know. I want to address this because when somebody's, I just think it's important to know. This is that stuff where it's nice to know a little bit about how the brain works. That because when you are in a panic attack, and I'm not trying to sound like, oh man, what a bummer, but at that point, when somebody says, "What can I do when I'm having a panic attack?" The tough part, and we talk about this, your amygdala hijack has occurred. So you're not really in your thinking brain, you're in your more reactive brain. So a lot of times by the time you're in that panic attack, it's because you're already, you've already been like, your heart rate's elevated to a point.
You've already been focusing on how to get it to end. And that way you're also obsessing over it at this point now. Exactly. And sometimes that kind of makes it worse. That's where I feel like I get with it.
Totally. And then let's see how this one does. As like somebody then says to you, hey, calm down. That works, right? Because now all of a sudden on my brain, now I'm in fight or flight. It's like, that means I can't calm down. That whole I've got to do the opposite of what I'm told to do. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you need to just chill. That's like, I can't chill. Then I'm getting even more.
Why can't I chill? Why can't I chill right in the second? I'm going to die.
So, so if you're having a panic attack, one of the things that is helpful is to already make sure that if somebody you care about knows that you get them from time to time, then if they can just kind of be there and be this sense of calm. And there's some pretty cool studies from this book, Hold Me Tight. And it talks about how if somebody is safe and they're in the same room as you, then it will help lower your cortisol a little bit. But then if they like put their hand on you like that, then that helps lower cortisol, or if they hold your hand or whatever. So if it's somebody safe, it can even just be, hey, I'm here. And then talking really calm. And then one of the best things you can do is just, even if you're noticing that you're having the panic attack, to walk outside, because breathe, the fresh air really is good. But the hope is that you can lower your heart rate. That's the goal. But you nailed it though. If you're all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Why am I having this? I need to calm down. I can't calm down. Then what am I doing? I'm elevating my heart rate. And then we talked about before, the higher your heart rate elevates, the more of that stress hormone cortisol is splashing all over your brain. And then what it's doing is it's saying, we don't need access to the part of our brain that thinks and makes sense of things. We need to fire up that part that gets fight or flight. And then I talk about this on my Waking Up to Narcissism podcast often. At some point, you get an amygdala hijack, and all of a sudden, your amygdala, your fight or flight response, has hijacked your brain, and you can't tap into that chill version. Mm-hmm. So then, when you are done with the panic attack, then give yourself grace. What do I need to learn? Was I in a situation where I didn't feel safe, or is this my cue to start being pretty intentional about meditating? And that's really when the work happens.
Yeah. I feel like for me, something that's been helping me is like, I know I always say you're not your thoughts or whatever, like your thoughts are BS, but when I'm having a panic attack, that's where I have to completely like forget how I'm feeling and like just like like put that thought in my head of you are okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that's the one time where it's like, okay, I'm not feeling okay, but I have to believe and really know that I am okay.
Yeah.
And like for me, it's like knowing that a lot of times mine only lasts like 30 or 45 minutes. So sometimes I'll even set a timer for like longer than I think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, when this timer is like done,
cool.
like it's like 75% of the time I'm gonna be through it, and I'm probably gonna have forgotten about it, and then the timer's gonna go off and I'm gonna be like, oh wait, remember when I was having a panic attack?
That's
like
cool.
That kind
Where'd
of
you
has
get that
been
one?
helping me.
That's
just this beautiful brain, you guys.
Nice.
Psych.
No, I like that a lot.
Don't take
okay,
all of my advice, only bits and pieces.
I mean, and then I know we've got the questions over here, but I just like saw the one where the Mike says, I never had a panic attack before. Why am I getting them semi-frequent at age 26? And it's a great question. And I think one of the things, again, is that it's to then accept, first of all, just like check it out, accept the fact that I'm having them. Nothing's wrong with you. You know, you're just like, this is the first time you've been you right now at 26, and check that out. I'm having panic attacks because the more that you are going through life, the more experiences you're going to have. And especially around 26, and I don't know, Mike, but maybe sometimes people start thinking I should be a certain place in my life. You know, I should be in a relationship more. I should have my dream job. I should be through school. And so just those things alone can start to cause a little bit higher of anxiety. And so, because if we put these expectations on ourselves, then we can start to beat ourselves up, and, you know, we can start to just snowball.
Yeah. But like timelines are completely made up, I feel like.
They are.
And also time is completely made up. So literally nothing matters. Like, don't think of anything in terms of your past or your future. Like, you're just here right now. If you want to do something, do it, you know?
I mean, honestly, it's like I went back to school to get my master's in my early 30s and then changed careers. Like, that was kind of insane, but now it was great. And I will have people now sometimes be, you know, in their early 30s, late 20s, and they're saying, okay, but I mean, I can't just go back to school and start over. I'm saying, like, I think you can. I mean, I kind of did. It seemed to work out okay.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I feel like that's kind of connecting yourself to socially compliant goals again, because you're like, if I haven't seen someone else do this, then that means I can't do it.
That's good.
But the reality is, it's like, it's your life, your body. Like, you can literally just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's chill.
It is. It's funny you say that, because sometimes that's the one thing that I try not, if there's a thing that I notice that I want to beat myself up about, it's that I don't sometimes, because I've got an amazing, wonderful job. I love it. We've got a platform where we can talk about things. I've got these podcasts, and then you really can kind of express yourself the way that you want. You can do the things that you really think will help people, or the things that you want to do. But it is still funny if somebody else hasn't done it, then you kind of feel like, wait, is that okay to do? Mm-hmm. But I always say we're adult humans. We can kind of do what we want. Exactly, the podcast I have coming out tomorrow, I've been doing couples therapy for almost 20 years, 15, 16 years. And there's a, tell me what you think about this. There's a concept that you learn as a new couples therapist called the no secrets policy. And so what it means is, you're saying, okay, when you're working with an individual, they are the client. The individual is the client. You're doing what's best for the individual. When you're doing couples therapy, the relationship is the client. So in theory, you're doing what's best for the relationship. So a no secrets policy means that when you end up maybe meeting one-on-one with a client, and they tell you a secret, like, honestly, one might be, hey, I don't want to stay in this marriage anymore, but I haven't told my spouse. Then you're supposed to say, you know, is no secrets policy. Well, okay, that's really going to impact the relationship. So I can't keep going if you're not willing to talk about that. But then
you say that as a therapist.
That's what you're supposed to say as a therapist. But then it's like, you start realizing that, okay, but the more you do couples therapy and they're paying you for your expertise, and you realize, okay, I just told that person that they have to now not be themselves. And the reality is, some people are stuck in relationships that they don't know if they want to be in. And by the time they get to couples therapy, they may not be saying, I want to make this work, but I'm gonna try. But I now say, okay, I let a couple know. And this is the reason I'm talking about this, is I've had to have the confidence to say, okay, I've got at this point, 1,600 couples under my belt now of experience. So that isn't the way it works. So I'm going to let the couple know, when we meet individually, I want you to have a safe place, because I don't want you keeping a secret from me too.
Yeah.
So, but I reserve the right then to use my professional judgment on what, how we can navigate this. Because sometimes people have had negative experiences, emotional affair, physical affair, but they don't want to tell their partner, but they want the relationship to still survive. So then I need to know everything that I'm working with. Anyway, where I was going with that is that I was doing this for a long time. And then there's this other therapist that writes a lot of articles about ethics and law. And he came out and said, hey, can I just say something that if his name's Ben Caldwell, and he just said, if you're a real couples therapist, we kind of need to address this no secrets policy. And then I was like, okay, now I can talk about it. But it's like, why didn't I have the confidence to talk about it, even though my experience is that's been my experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like that you have a point too, though, because like, what about like abusive relationships?
Well, that's that's the first thing he said. He's like,
that's my first thought.
Yeah. Like, he said, most people don't report abuse in their couple's relationship. And so then you need to have somebody come to you and say, like, this is happening.
And of course you're not going to report it, because then you're going to get home and get abused more.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. You're right. And you should be like confident and stuff like that.
And I am, which is, but it's like, man, so why? It's so funny though, because then you feel like or
maybe it's situation to situation. I don't know. I feel weird saying you're right about anything now that we,
Yeah.
I feel like everything is just so situational. But what were you saying?
Like really smart things.
I'm sure you were.
Wait, I think I'm scrolling the wrong way. Oh yeah, I am scrolling the wrong way on the questions. They're up top. Queen Sheba, so wise beyond your years and great point. Probably talking about you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Let's see. Sydney needs to isolate. Oh, Mom.
What did she say?
No, it's good. She said Sydney needs to isolate what she said about setting a time during panic attacks, because it was like really good. Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I need to actually do that more.
Laura says, do you have any thoughts on how to feel more emotionally safe with your therapist to open up? Man, that is a great question, because you often say as a therapist that the most important thing is that to feel a connection with your therapist, because if you do, then you will feel safe enough to open up. And the faster you can feel like you can be yourself and open up, then the better. So there's a couple of thoughts here to this, Laura. One is that is it that you don't feel safe because you are afraid of the things that you're going to express, or do you honestly kind of have almost like a gut feeling of that I don't really feel good about this person?
Good point.
Yeah, right. Because I still want people to trust their gut. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think, like I said, like I feel like that's like who you are, is your gut. Like your gut is very smart.
Yeah.
My gut has told me a lot. My gut always tells me when guys are insane, but I never listen to it.
Okay.
Like that was my recent thing with the last guy that I was talking to. Like my gut was telling me for months, like, stop it.
Sounds like.
But I just did not listen. So
sounds like dad issues.
No, is it? I don't know.
Oh no, is your father? No.
No.
No. But did I say thoughts? Yeah. So I mean, really, first of all, it's Laura's a bit of a self check-in. If I'm just afraid of the things I'm about to say, man, so normal. And then let the therapist know, like, man, this is really difficult for me to talk about, but there's something I would love to share. And because that's what we do. And I used to say that I would have this, I would call it the holy crap-o-meter that was on my shoulder. And I would say, honestly, anything you're going to tell me, I promise you, it's not even going to go up. Not saying that I'm dismissing what your experience is, but any good therapist is like, I'm honored, like legitimately, I'm not even saying that, honored when somebody can open up about anything, because that takes a lot of courage. And then and we talked about this, talk therapy works when you can get scary things or out of your head and have somebody, instead of saying, whoa, really? Like I wouldn't, versus them saying, man, tell me more about that. Like, what's that like for you? And how long have you felt that way? And all of a sudden you're associating now this scary thing that you've not wanted to talk about with a safe person or a safe experience. And that's powerful.
Yeah. And everyone knows therapists have gone through crap. So
we've heard everything.
They've probably, gone through and heard everything already.
Yeah.
So if you're telling them something that they haven't heard before, all you're doing is keeping it more interesting,
Yeah, for real.
At least they haven't given the same answer a million times before.
Honestly, sometimes
a new story.
And I have, sometimes I will, there's somebody recently that said something. I was like, okay, that one, I got to be honest, that one's new, but I'm still able to say, but I'm so grateful that you trust me in sharing that. Like it's kind of an honor, which is really nice. Perik Cirker, thoughts on lucid dreaming? Have you ever lucid dreamt?
I used to get, lucid dreaming creeps me out.
How come?
I used to get sleep paralysis all the time, and it was terrible. And then I finally kind of figured out how to switch it into lucid dreaming.
Really?
Yeah. And then it just kind of started getting spooky. I don't know. It creeps me out. What are your thoughts on it? I think it's super interesting. Like,
oh, for sure. I was thinking about, I was like, how deep do we go into this? Do you remember when young Sydney would come in and be in the middle of a dream? And
yes, no, yeah.
What do you remember about those?
I used to have like night terrors.
Yeah. Oh, right? Mom and I would break our hearts. We'd like, I still remember watching like SpongeBob at 1 a.m, sitting there, like kind of holding you, Sid.
Yeah, those were terrible. I would wake up and like I would feel like imminent doom and death, and like I killed my whole family unalived, and then I wouldn't be able to wake myself up.
I know, it was wild. Sometimes like we would, almost like,
so
hey,
weird.
I don't know. I almost want to say to Wendy, fix link in the bio. Yeah, something's weird with that. But I want to ask Wendy, did we ever lovingly put Sid in the shower? I don't know. Do you remember that?
You put me in the shower, and sometimes that would help. Yeah. I remember literally like in the shower with my clothes on, like just like trying to. Yeah. It was so weird.
So
I haven't gotten them in a while though.
I mean.
Thoughts on lucid dreaming though. Sounds fun.
So there's I've been telling you about, if we start talking meditation, I did Headspace for a long time. I really like a couple of the instructors on the Peloton app because I meditate every day. And then there's an app called Expand, and it's from the Monroe Institute. This is where I wish we got like a sponsorship or something.
Give us money.
But they have some. They have this concept of binaural beats and these Monroe sound technology. So it's like different sounds going in your ear, different frequencies and megahertz. So it kind of almost like lulls you into this almost like a hypnotic state. But they have a guided meditation on lucid dreaming. And so I've always been curious, and I've tried to get some people to talk about lucid dreaming on my podcast. And there's a website, I swear it's luciddreaming.com, and I can't get them to respond back to me. But so 3 or 4 times now, because sometimes I wake up really early. I'll see you on my way to work at 3 a.m. You're making a quesadilla and I'm heading to work. But on those mornings I'll come in here and I will do one of those lucid dreaming, meditations. And so 2 out of the 3 times it's worked a little bit, but one of the times it was a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of wild because you're supposed to be able to take control of your dreams and walk around and do stuff. And yeah.
But like, I feel like there's just so much more to it that we don't understand and we don't know. It's like, if you can like be in a dream realm, then what other realms can your brain go into, and what other realms is it slipping into that you don't know? And like, what if there's just so much of that I think is like super interesting.
I was about to say, where's my phone? I'll pull up the app, but we're like recording on it. So, but they talk about some things.
You know what I was thinking? I feel like sleep is like, if you think about it to its core, like sleep is just like a forced meditation. Like everyone meditates all the time, but they don't know it. Like, think about it.
I know. Like, when you getting all these quotes?
When you sleep, it's like you enter like a deep, deep meditation.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
So it's like, I feel like that does kind of go to show why it could be good to learn how to do it in like your waking state too. You know, like of course there's benefits to that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because sleep is I agree. Hit this meditative state. I will tell you that when I used to do the Headspace app, and this is no offense, that it was when I didn't know what I didn't know. I would set let's say I'm going to do a 10-minute meditation. I would set my timer for 13 minutes and I would basically fall asleep 2 or 3 minutes in, wake up to my timer and say, I meditated. Mm-hmm. But ever since I've really been more intentional, probably for the last year, I don't fall asleep, whether I'm meditating 30 minutes, 20 minutes. So it is a different experience. And I don't know, just like this just presence or this sense of calm. Okay, let's do this. What do we got? We have another 10 minutes. Would be an hour and a half.
Should we do that
ADHD?
Story?
Oh my goodness. Okay, ADHD. Let me just say, if Top Gun fan is still here,
story, by the way.
ADHD treatment for somebody with addictive tendencies. One of the things that I would just recommend, and we'll cover ADHD maybe in more detail on the next live. But
and in the last ones we did about it for
Are those up?
A thick amount of times
up on the thing on YouTube.
Yeah, they are.
Nice. So
some of them,
or get the book ADHD 2.0 because we've talked a lot about actually because of the impulsive nature of ADHD. That then it really does talk a lot about the efficacy, the effectiveness of ADHD medication because it stops more of the impulsive tendencies. And remember, we were reading some of the stuff that talked about that people turn to addictive substances younger when they have untreated ADHD. Do you remember that stuff? Mm-hmm. Should I read that really quick while you're queuing?
I don't know if that's true though, because I just spent all of my money recently on concert tickets, so I'm still impulsive.
That's all the data we need, right?
Yeah. So scientists, get back in the lab.
Okay, here we go.
Something's not right about this.
In the book ADHD 2.0, which concert tickets?
A rave before Coachella. You'll be fine.
Who's performing?
I don't even know.
Okay.
Just there for the vibes.
Spoiler alert. It says that taking a stimulant or stimulant-like drug early in life helps prevent, not promote addiction later on, since 80% of addictions get started between the ages of 13 and 23. And since people with ADHD are far more prone to develop an addiction than the general population, and since taking stimulant medication reduces the risk of addiction later on, it makes a lot of sense to start a child on a stimulant medication before the age of 13. Addiction and abuse are understandably some of the main concerns cited by those reluctant to take an ADHD drug, and the concerns are valid. ADHD drugs are listed among the top drugs abused by high school and college students, but not because of ADHD, study drugs, right? But then it says less common for those who have ADHD to take too much of a stimulant medication. Long-term studies found that those with ADHD who successfully were treated with stimulants become addicted to substances far less than the general population, and certainly less than the population who have ADHD and do not take a stimulant medication. And then on the flip side, teens who have ADHD and are not treated are 5 to 10 times more likely to become addicted to substances. And it's, anyway, I just think that that's one of the things I wanted to get to. So here we go. This Reddit story, we're not gonna be able to do it in 10 minutes. So we'll go a little bit longer. Thank you, Wendy and Mackie, the moderator.
Okay. Ready, team.
Here we go. This is a crazy one. You have to wait. You have to say, you can't say some of the swear words.
I know.
Okay.
She made me wait almost 4 years for sex. Can I say that?
I think, remember people say segs? Segs.
I think TikTok, you're a baby. Okay. She made me wait almost 4 years but slept with him in a week. Am I wrong to be angry about this? I'm kind of having a mental breakdown at the moment, so my words may not make sense. I was in a relationship with my now ex, I guess, girlfriend for 5 years. We didn't sleep together until we were 4 years in because she wanted to wait until it felt right. I respected it wholeheartedly. Of course I wanted to, but I loved her more than I wanted to have to sleep with her. So I waited until she blatantly told me she was ready and dragged me to the bedroom herself. Just in January, she told me she wanted to take a step back from our relationship and said she wasn't in the right mind space to be with me. I was hurt, but she assured me that she loved me and would be with me again when she got her mind right. We remained friends and talked daily. I was excited for the day we could get back together. At the beginning of the month, she started ranting to me about this gross guy friend in her circle who wouldn't stop hitting on her and looking at her body. Called him an F-boy, etc. I was annoyed and told her to stay away from a weirdo like that. She told me she would and called him a creep, etc. And then a couple of days later, she calls me to tell me they just slept together. She was saying she didn't know how it happened. It happened so fast. She slipped and fell. Like, what is this? She couldn't believe she did it, etc., etc. I was shattered, but wanted to at least make sure it was consensual, and she said it was, but she wasn't thinking straight. I was shaking all over, nauseous, the 9 yards. She called me while I was headed to take a major test. I somehow managed to take it, but as soon as I was done, I ran outside of the classroom and threw up. She had sent me multiple texts apologizing, saying it meant nothing and that she's just in a bad place. I told her I couldn't speak to her at the moment. What she did hurts, but how she did it hurts the most. How could she have done this with a guy she barely knew? Such a creepy one at that. How could she have done this so easily when she took her sweet time with me? I feel disgusted and angry. There's so much rage, and a part of me feels guilty about how I feel since I know she didn't owe me to sleep with her and owns her own body. And I'm not usually anywhere close to a misogynist, but why is this such a slap in the face? I feel like my heart was slapped. Am I wrong? Edit, because many people ask, I'm 21 and she's 20. We got together at 16 and 15 and lost our virginities to one another. Update, just as I was going to text her to say goodbye / cut her off, she tells me she doesn't think we should speak anymore because of her terrible mental state. Surprise, surprise, she slept with him again. She claims she did it yet again because she's on a downward spiral and doesn't want to pull me down with her, in quotes. Said she wants to spare me from a woman as insane as she is and to live my best life without her, in quotes. Pretty sure she blocked me. 6 years I've known this girl, 5 years together, all for it to end up like this. I don't know how I'm going to continue with my studies. One more edit. Forgot to add that she for some reason felt it was very important to let me know that they used no protection, and he, inside of her. Note, we use condoms every single time. So that's an extra layer of gut stab on top of knowing she could very well be Deceased is crazy. Have an STD is probably, or pregnant now, completely burning any possibility of us getting back together. Not like it was ever a real possibility anyhow.
Okay,
That
you
is
go
the
first.
Story.
Because there's a lot of different ways we can go because we don't know all the stuff.
Like that's where this is hard, right? Because it's like we only get one side of the story. And I do feel like they're both like in your therapy words, like probably very emotionally immature.
For sure.
Of course, because they're 20 and 21.
Yeah, they have to be emotionally mature, yes.
But I don't know, to me it kind of, I feel like that girl is just kind of keeping this guy like on a back burner in a sense, like just to like see, like keeping him around just in case this future relationship doesn't work out, because maybe she's like afraid of being alone.
That's good.
And like, yeah, maybe just like she needs that comfort. But I feel like in the same breath,
hey, you're out of the screen.
In the same breath as that, she's like completely disregarding OP's feelings, like completely. And I feel like he should take that as like a sign that she didn't deserve him in the first place. You know, like if you're gonna treat somebody like that, like then they don't deserve you at all. But I don't know, because then reading it again, I kind of they were broken up for sure when everything happened, right? There's no cheating.
Right. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
So love that there's no cheating, but I don't know. I still feel like the fact that he led her, or she led him on.
They didn't break up.
They didn't break up?
No, I was annoyed to stay. I told her to stay away from a weirdo like that. Oh, wait, no, you're right. We remained friends, talked daily. But
they were friends,
you're
but
right. They broke up.
The suspicious part to me is that they were still friends and they talked daily, and she kept him around saying, maybe we'll get back together.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I feel like this is like very telling of her actions. And it's not to say that she's necessarily a terrible person, but like she's choosing herself over the relationship. So you should choose yourself too.
Yeah. Right? Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's really good.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I love everything you said there. I think one of the key things is to start with, they started at 16 and 15. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That would be good. But
she used him to justify her bad behavior and self-diagnose.
Okay. At the same time, sometimes people want to accept things for the people that they love. Yeah, this is good stuff. So
take it away, therapist.
So 16 and 15, incredibly emotionally immature. And so then
brains are still developing.
Oh, so when
they were so young.
And then here's the thing where neither of them honestly know what a real relationship is like. And most people at that young are people pleasers, and they are just trying to, say the right thing, and they're maybe not being their authentic self. And I like what you're saying. We only have one side of this. So who knows if he was putting up with a whole lot of who knows what, and he's like giving the benefit of the doubt and that sort of thing. But here's what I want to go in a different direction. And I really want your opinion on this. You'll be super honest, right? So when I was putting together my marriage course, this magnetic marriage course, the guy who helped me put it together, my friend Preston, he said, okay, we need to I had all these things that I wanted to put in there as a therapist with my 4 pillars of a connected conversation and attachment styles and this sort of thing. And he said, we got to put in this module on masculine and feminine polarity. And at the time I was like, now we're good, And then I said, okay, he's like, no, trust me, it's really powerful. And I said, okay, we'll put it at the end of the course. And then the first time we ran the course and it sold out quick. And then people really identified with this. But I feel like even just talking about the concept of masculine and feminine is people immediately develop a negative reaction of what that's talking about.
And I understand why, but I feel like you can separate. Like a female can be more inherently masculine than feminine. Like I feel like you can separate masculinity and femininity from the gender.
Absolutely.
In a way that it's like, it can still be so real. Yeah. It can be real, but it can mean different things for different people. And it doesn't have to put you in a box, but it can still describe you.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Or what do you think?
No, that for real. I mean, so a couple things. One is in different cultures, like in, in the Far East, you've got yin and yang. In Indian culture, you've got Shiva and Shakti. So there's different versions of masculine and feminine. So I actually took this, and I've done a couple of episodes where I called it, instead of masculine, I called it assertive. And instead of feminine, I called it nurturing. So there was a healthy assertive and a healthy nurturing, because you've got healthy and unhealthy masculine and feminine
and
traits.
I like that, because then that's what you're doing, right? Is you're taking away the gender role
I'm
from
trying.
it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, but really what it's about is it's about polarity. And so polarity in a relationship, a lot believe is necessary. So polarity is the state of having two opposite poles, like a magnet, that creates attraction. So then we'll still kind of right now go with masculine, feminine, but just know that where we're headed with this is that it's not about male, female. And I said in my course, the masculine or the assertive is about presence. Like I'm holding the assertive frame. I'm being very present. And then feminine is more about, I would say, radiance. And so it's about like the creative energy. So, but that polarity. So if the masculine energy retreats and it doesn't show up, then it's almost like the feminine is forced to fill that masculine void. And then it depolarizes the relationship, and then vice versa. And so there's a belief that again, whether we're calling masculine, feminine, assertive and nurturing, Shiva and Shakti, yin and yang, that will destroy like polarity, which then it also destroys attraction and connection. So here's what I think is pretty cool about this is the feminine will be shut down if they feel unseen, so unnoticed for the things they're doing, accomplishing, contributing. If they don't feel understood, and as a therapist, man, I dig this part. It's the feminine will shut down if they feel not understood, meaning that masculine and feminine have different meanings, and feminine needs to be understood even if they aren't agreed with. And I'm not saying that like, yeah, women, huh? But it's part of my couples therapy model. My 4 pillars of a connected conversation is when somebody's, let's say that she's expressing herself and she feels like he's not there for her, that, you know, she's not assuming good intention, she's not trying to hurt him, he can't tell her she's wrong because that's how she feels. And then he needs to ask questions before making comments because she needs to feel heard and understood. And then he needs to, you know, stay present and not go into like a victim mode. That's the unhealthy masculine energy. And
correct me if I'm like wrong, but do you think that has to do with like your gender, or do you think that there could be a relationship, and this is like what I would like to believe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Could there be a relationship where the guy is portrayed as the feminine and then the girl is portrayed as the masculine?
Yeah.
Or then those could be off balance.
Yeah. And they can, well, here, let me, and I'll show you, because I do think this stuff is really, really interesting. So then the other time when the feminine will feel shut down is if they feel unsafe. And this is one though, where I don't want to just go immediately to gender, but masculine has really a lot of times no idea why the feminine feels unsafe. And so they need to make sure the feminine feels safe. And this is when we talked before about,
I get that.
Right?
Well, I get why that is like going back to because like guys are generally bigger, taller, scarier creatures.
Yeah. And when Betsy said that was my 28-year marriage. So this is one where there was a training that I went to once, and the person said in the room, there were a lot of men and women, and they just said, how many of he was saying basically the women in the room have felt unsafe in the last 30 days. And most people raised their hand.
Obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that funny? And then he's like, how many
outside.
that was it. And he said, how many of the masculine have felt unsafe in the last 30 days? And not as many people did.
Wow.
And so the person that I appreciate right now is they just said, you know, he was saying to his wife, he's like, well, when? And she said, when I was literally like parked too far out in the mall, it was late. And then he was like, oh, well, I mean, you know, you shouldn't have worried about it. Like you need to, you know, and then it's like, oh, because he doesn't experience that.
Like shouldn't worry about what? Like my brittle bones.
Well, and so
5'3" stature.
And when I've seen women, you know, I work a lot with emotional immaturity, narcissistic traits and tendencies. And when I see women sometimes come out of those narcissistic relationships, when they can finally maybe break out of that trauma bond, they will often find themselves trying to go back to that person. And then that's where I feel like, okay, they weren't feeling seen or understood, but they felt somewhat safe because that emotionally mature narcissistic guy, you know, projected this confidence, even though it was a false confidence. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that sometimes they felt safe. And then the you know, the nice guys, that's where I start getting into this stuff. If he's like, oh man, I don't want to make her feel bad or whatever, but sometimes that will be viewed as feeling unsafe because I can't count on this person. Is he there for me? Does he have my back? You know, that kind of thing. Mm. So that's where I was just saying now when she sees, this is where I was going with that. This is where we hear about why does she go after the bad boy? And so sometimes it's because he appears safe, because he doesn't give a crap, because he's like saying what he feels. And that's where some of that stereotype comes from. And then the masculine, the belief is they'll be shut down if they're criticized. They want to be your hero, and they can't if you're criticizing them.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to connect myself to this because I can relate to this.
And then and then the masculine will shut down if they feel controlled. If they feel controlled, you know, and control is forced by, it can be withholding love, withholding attention, withholding intimacy. So if he has been wanting that intimacy, and she's controlled that, you know, and so then he's gone into nice guy mode to just try to, hey, whatever you need, because he's hoping that eventually then she'll, you know, meet his emotional or intimate needs. then she also feels unsafe because he's not standing up for himself. He's not, I mean, that can get dangerous because I'm not trying to say he needs to be a jerk.
Yeah. I feel like I get what you're saying.
I have never really talked about this.
I do think, and again, we don't know the whole situation, but it does kind of sound like this girl is very emotionally immature. And it sounds like no matter what he did, she was going to break away and do something to self-destruct in the relationship because of her issues. So it's like, yes, this can be true, but I feel like in this scenario, there's probably nothing he could have done. Maybe there's something he could have done to make himself feel stronger when it happened, but like I feel like it was inevitably going to happen.
And that's why. And so I like that. And you just said something really good there too, where unfortunately they didn't know what they didn't know. I doubt they're in couples counseling at 17 and 18, 12, right? But can I go over this? I've got this list up over here, and this is from my marriage course. And so again, whether we want to call it feminine or nurturing, or we want to call it masculine or assertive. So here's the concept that, like what you're saying, this doesn't matter gender, but these traits. So healthy feminine traits: receptive and open, creative, imaginative, intuitive, loving, welcoming, patient, expressive, magic. So
magic. We got magic.
Right? Healthy boundaries. So that's like that. That's because that's part of that being that expressive quality. Unhealthy feminine, codependent, submissive, docile, placating, over-accommodating, people-pleasing, self-pitying, vengeful, manipulative, don't own their truth, don't speak up, resentful. So you can see that male or female, it doesn't matter the gender, that anybody can go into that unhealthy version. That's why you want to call that the unhealthy nurturing and the healthy nurturing.
Yeah.
And then over in the masculine world, then it's the healthy, because now let's look at this dude. Decisive, clear, directed, resilient, takes action, confident, deep love, devotion, practicality, reasonable. So those are those healthy traits. And then the unhealthy: overly analytical, closed, absolutist, dominating, critical, raging, logic-based, linear thinking, apathetic, mocking, demanding. So in my couples relationships, I
toxic.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I see so many. And when you go through these critical, why'd you do that? Raging, all of a sudden emotionally inconsistent, then you feel unsafe in the relationship. Logic based, that one sounds crazy, but it's like, well, no, that doesn't make sense logically. Well, if she's being in her emotions in a healthy way, then it's not going to be logical, linear thinking, apathetic, mocking. Like I literally have adults in my office going, and then he went, making those kind of like mocking the other person. So that's where I find that too often people slip into these unhealthy versions of these roles, and then the other person doesn't feel safe. They don't feel heard, seen. So I know that's a lot to say about the 17 and 18-year-old, but part of me, I go right to that place so often when she goes after the bad boy, and it's like there's some need that's being met there, or she's self-sabotaging the relationship, almost like, hey, look what I did. Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm still here,
She's like, why?
Yeah, exactly. Right. I'm going to do it again. Right. And we didn't do
Okay. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we can talk more about this one down the road too, because I think this stuff's in my couples in couples therapy, this stuff comes up often. Can I tell you one analogy that I think is really cool? So my buddy Preston, when we did the first round of my magnetic marriage course, he talked about when you get on a roller coaster, what's the first thing you do? You put the lap bar down. What do you do? Okay. Before that.
Poop your pants.
Hey, before that. You pull up on the lap bar, you test for safety.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because once you know that, okay, I'm locked in, then I honestly, I can do all that stuff. But then I have to know I'm safe first. And so in essence, like the healthy, masculine energy or nurturing energy is providing safety in the relationship. Because once the person feels safe, then they can be expressive. Then I can do all this stuff and poop my pants and all that. But if I don't feel safe, I can't do that because I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be holding on tight. Does that make, what I'm saying?
I think that makes sense. Yeah. And then it's like, if you're not doing that, then you slip into the unhealthy traits or something that those come out.
Yes. Yeah. Cause
it's like the opposite.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a big old one to talk about this one, because I when you sent me this earlier today, I thought, man, I really want to get to this because I like where you're going. I think that you're more right where it's what's he been putting up with? They're young. They don't even know they don't know. Was she trying to self-sabotage, or was she just like not feeling that connection? Because I mean, when you're 15 and 16, you don't know what that connection's like. you know? Yeah.
No, yeah. You're just knowing what is right in front of you.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that's pretty much it.
And then we've talked before about we have such a deep need to know that we will, you know, stay connected to somebody, that then when we're young, we'll just make any excuse to say, no, this is good. This is good. She's like, I mean, she said she'll be back, you know, or that sort of thing. And then meanwhile, she's kind of doing her own thing. And then even there's some stuff here where he says he feels, I feel disgusted and angry. There's so much rage. So listen to that body, bro, right? It's telling you, low, this is not cool. But if he's like, oh, but I feel bad that I got mad. And it's like, no, you got mad because.
Yeah. That's a good point. That is another part where it's like your body, your gut, like knows better than you do. Like going through a breakup, like any situation like that, you feel like absolute crap. But for some reason, that little thought in your head is like, oh, let's text them.
Totally.
But you know that like you don't deserve that.
That's when it's tough, because I like it. At least he said at the end, you know, when he said, exfoliate, gut stab, knowing she could very well be diseased or pregnant, completely burning any possibility of us getting back together. It's like, really? Like you were thinking there might be a shot still, huh? But he said not like it was ever a real possibility. Yeah. Because that's one where somebody's still like, I'm begging someone to love me or to care about me.
And when you're a kid, everything seems like the end of the world too.
Yeah.
Like when I was going through my like 16-year-old breakup, oh my gosh, it was
real, right?
It was the apocalypse. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it really, really feels like that. But then like you step out of that, like 3-4 years later, you become like more of an adult. And I feel like it's like, oh, okay, I was just a kid and like that wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, for sure. But that's hard in the moment.
In the moment, that's literally impossible.
Yeah.
Like break something, set something on fire. Don't literally, but I get it. Like I totally get it.
Okay, Sid. That was an hour and 42 minutes.
Wow, that was so good. And okay, guys, now my biggest fear is true, because this is immediately re-uploaded on YouTube. Oh, 111. So you guys can just watch it.
I know, right?
Like the second we end the stream, it's there. Yeah. And that's terrifying.
It really is.
That means I can't edit anything.
Okay. But then
But I'm going to add chapters to it, because I know it's annoying to watch without chapters.
Yeah.
So I'll have chapters, and then you guys can like slide around.
Nick said I'm a good dad. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. It was good having you here tonight. Nick knows his psychology, for real. Your daughter should be a YouTube narrator. Have you ever wanted to do that? Betsy sent hearts. Haley followed the host. Betsy sent more hearts. Thanks, Betsy. What would you narrate? Anything. You did have kind of like a cool voice.
Thanks. Now I'm like, I don't know. I'm scared to say something. It's going to sound embarrassing.
Angela noticed the 111 too. That's too cool. Oh, 2 different Nicks. All right. I'm digging both Nicks. Yeah. You got cool hair.
Thanks. So do you.
Okay. I wasn't saying that.
Classic. Bald man.
I used to say I've been bald since before it was cool. I swear it was like one time, were you the one that said, when was it cool? Do you remember that?
No, but I was thinking that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Oh, therapist man, what was your favorite psych subject in school? Okay, very quick story. In undergrad, before grad school, I wasn't a huge fan of school, but I just kind of did it anyway. But then in grad school, when it was nothing but psych classes, I really enjoyed that. Ooh. And so I know, right? And I really liked, I don't know, I really did like abnormal psych. And then I liked the whole, I don't know, there was so much there. Psychopharmacology, learning about different medications and the way they work, all kinds of stuff like that. Loving clinical psych.
That was the funny story.
Oh, what was my funny story?
You went to school?
Yeah, I think I had a funnier one.
My funnier one is that I dropped out. Anyway, see you guys next time.
Hey, everybody.
Bye-bye.
New peer support specialist. Glad to catch anything mental health. Thanks, Angela. Come back again. All right.
Yeah, it's good to have people that actually know what they're talking about in the chat. Not you know what you're talking about, but I do not. So we need all the psychologists we can.
That's right. We welcome you aboard. All right. Go watch The Virtual Couch, Waking Up to Narcissism, Love ADHD, Murder on the Couch. Oh, The Mind, the Mirror, Me, Mackie and my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so.
Good night, everybody. Have a great week. Sid, we'll do this again this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we're moving to Arizona. Okay.
Dox us, why don't you?
I know what that means.
Nice.
It's a dachshund, a dog.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Don't forget to send that one too.
Oh, that's right. Last time we kept this going, right? Okay.
See you, team. All of you.